that's what
rewarding. Yeah,
if I see
see.
organizations that are called Black Lives Matter, and I donate from those organizations just because I see a bunch of people who are like, well, I didn't get nothing. Okay, well, there's a difference between you not getting anything and Black organizations not getting anything, because we already have plenty of incentives for people to be Black, right? We have 8A programs, we have MBEs that are local for people to win contracts based upon the color of their skin.
Yeah. Would that go to Ali's point, but white people stick together, which is why you have to put those programs in place?
No.
So, like, for instance, I'm an SBE, right? Because I do that type of business.
MBE?
And so, yeah, sorry. So,
yeah, you're doing it at the
DC,
local level instead of the federal level. Are you
yeah,
doing it at the federal level?
It's DC, yeah. So it'd be federal technically.
Yeah.
So right. And so what happens is they have to allocate 30% of those contracts to minority-led companies, right? Or else we won't have access to them.
Yeah, and that's white people that are doing it. That's why they're not unified, because there's white people who are writing these programs in and paying this money to these people, and they can have the choice not to do it. Like, that's just what it is. It's white people who saying, hey, listen, I feel so guilty for all the things that I did that now I'm going to start. I'm the only group of people who would ever do this, right? I'm going to feel so bad about conquering people and beating people that now, because I feel guilty, I'm going to give them some things. And so what does that tell other people? Hey, if I can make these white people feel guilty, I can get stuff from them. Yeah, like that's what happened. Because white people, it's still white people that introduced whether it be the 8A, there's still white people that facilitate this. There's still white people that are paying the taxes to even give to these companies. And listen, I don't disagree with MBEs or small business or 8A or any of those kind of things. I just disagree with, I think that if there's a government in general, people are going to take advantage of it. So I personally think the government should be cut. A lot of that stuff should be cut, but while it's there, I'm down with giving them what they need.
Yeah. The premise is pretty solid, to be honest. I think for me, generally speaking, I get along and I'm cordial. I typically don't trust white people to that extent to befriend and things of that nature, but I'm pretty cordial in the earth, right? I think you have to operate with each other to get along. I generally have something they don't want and vice versa.
May I ask you a question, Hamp?
Sure.
If they dropped me and you off in Mars, let's say they picked us up and they dropped us off in Mars, and we're around a bunch of Martians, how would you survive?
Me and you probably have to stick together.
But don't you think it would behoove you a little bit to make
cordial?
Alliance, to make not even just being cordial, but to make alliances, right?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So just to expound on my point is, what I'm saying by being cordial is, right, I do business every day, right? Because I own a couple of different businesses with anybody who's willing to do business. I may be partial depending on, but circumstantially, right, white people own the majority of the stuff. So oftentimes we work together, like I said, with like the small business enterprise. You know what I mean? Where you work with each other all the time, right? So you be cordial, you can have a beer and all that stuff. Just generally speaking, personally, I don't frequent around white people that often.
Okay. Do you think the reason why you don't is because you've been taught your entire life that white people don't like black people and white people are discriminate and racist against black people?
No. A lot of my basis is biblical, so I understand who my people are generally. And I think that though hand go in hand, the wicked will not go unpunished. I think you reap what you sow. The blood is defiled. The land is defiled by by blood, and the only blood that can undefile the land is the blood that shed the blood in the first place.
Okay.
But getting along in the earth is fine.
Yeah,
People are cool.
My question is this: how did you come to even know that Bible?
It's mine.
How?
So the place where it came from, those people look like me and are my ancestors.
Okay, where did it come from? Where were your ancestors living?
So-called, you may know it as the Middle East.
Okay.
But yeah, you can walk from Israel to Egypt.
But it was conquered. Israel it was conquered, and the Bible was pretty much smashed out in the Middle East after Islam.
Prove it.
I mean, Islam conquered that area.
Have you heard of Have you heard of Carthage?
Of course.
Have you heard of the Council of Nicaea?
Of course, 325 AD. Yeah.
How about the Council of Carthage itself?
I thought you were talking about Carthage with Hannibal. Are you telling me that there's another one?
Same place. But yeah, so if you look it up, there's a Council of Carthage as well that came into fruition before the Council of Nicaea. So there's several scrolls in the Greek Septuagint, the Texas Receptus, the Codex Sinaiticus. So all that stuff didn't die. You agree?
If you're telling me let me look this up. The thing is this, I'm going to have to look it up, but the Muslims wrecked it. I'm going to be honest with you. The white man had to reintroduce the Bible back to the Middle East, because after Muhammad rose up, they pretty much stomped out everything, right? In Northern Africa, especially if you're going to use Egypt. Egypt at one point in time was Christian.
Well, Eric, just to interject this real quick, I wasn't using Egypt. I was just saying you can walk from Israel to Africa, because people call that section Middle East as though you can't get from one place to the other without a boat, ship, or car. You know what I mean? Or like without going over water.
Oh, of course. Jesus actually went there as a child. So if we're looking at, yeah, bro. See, the thing is this: Carthage in Tanzania, it kind of was basically stomped out a little bit during Islam. I mean, during the rise of Islam. So the people that reintroduced.
Well, let me give you this edification real quick. So you heard of not that you heard of 70 AD, but that's when the war happened, right? And so have you heard of the trans-Saharan slave trade?
Yes. It's the people that went east instead of west.
Yeah, well, no. So they were in the east, right? 70 AD, people were dispelled out of the Middle East, right? And so they were slave traded from the east to the west, right? And so if you notice, a lot of ports that so-called black people came out of, one of the biggest ports is called the Port of Judah. And you know who Judah was in the Bible?
Yeah, one of the part of the 12 tribes, right?
Yeah, good. Yeah, 100%.
Ben,
right?
Asher, great. I remember Asher.
Good. Simeon, you doing good, right? And so there's a reason why those ports are named as such, right? All that stuff didn't get lost, but I agree, people try to erase a lot of good shit. I'm sure the Vatican got a whole lot of shit we haven't seen. Did you see the stuff that Putin let out? How everybody, all those images, everybody looked like me and you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this: I agree that the original, how can I say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
The original adopters may not have been European, but the people that preserved the text, the people that spread the text, the people that made Christianity the bulwark that it is today, were European. So, for example, they may not been the originals, right? Because remember, after Christ died, you had the disciples that went everywhere. The thing is this. The thing that happened was Rome absorbed Christianity, right? It wasn't the first. Of course, everybody's going to be like Ethiopia. They love saying that, right? But Ethiopia was not influenced. Ethiopia is not the reason that we're Christian in America. Okay. The reason why we're Christian in America is largely because of the people that came from Europe. And that even like the deeper parts of Western Africa, right? missionary work and things like that. To evangelize the message, it was a lot of that was Europe. A lot of that were people that came out of Europe, right?
I think that's solid. I think that the Bible tells you a lot of things are going to happen to the people of the Bible. Like their history is going to be erased. You have to go to your enemy for all things: thirst, want, nakedness, work, money, everything. So it's all actually prophetic. Do you believe in the Bible, or do you believe in God?
Of course. Jesus is Lord. What are you talking about? Of course.
Okay, now I don't be knowing. You know what I mean? YouTube is a great place. I didn't know that. So with that being said, then you're aware of like all the curses that happen to the true people of the Bible, right? Like Deuteronomy and things of that nature.
I know that you know, I mean, the curse of Ham and things like that, right?
Well, fuck Ham. I don't fuck with Ham.
Okay, we come from Shem. But what I'm telling you is this, right? Those curses were done once Christ came. I believe because Christ provided a means to fulfill the text of the Old Testament. I believe. Well, in terms of salvation.
Now, be careful with saying you believe. That's kind of like saying you feel.
Well, the thing is this: I am human. I'm fallible, right?
Okay.
I am fallible. Okay, I could be wrong on this, but Christ basically cut out the middleman. He gave us a path to salvation, and I think that the curses that you speak of, I think that those curses largely were upon his sacrifice. I think that they're largely erased from his sacrifice.
So can you tell me, so you were saying like he came to fulfill the law?
He was the law.
So but
you remember John, if you remember John 1, he was, he was the law.
Well, no. So right there it says Jesus is the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So
yeah, but the Word is the law.
But you got to make sure you know those two words, right? But you don't have to go there. What I'm asking you about the law specifically. So are you saying that he fulfilled the law? Is the law done? Is that what you're saying?
No, the law, we are still under the law, right?
Which law? Sorry.
Well, a mixture of laws, right? We're still under a lot of the laws from the Old Testament, right? And like, for example, the 10 Commandments and things like that. But, right, damn. We are...
slow down, because there's 613 commandments. So which ones are we under? I just want to make sure.
I'm just using an example, right? I'm using an example. Whether you're in Leviticus, Numbers, there's a reason why we did not eliminate the Old Testament from the Word. There's a reason why the Old Testament is still around, right? What I am telling you is that the New Testament provides a way for forgiveness from the law, right? And the ability to fulfill the law and to follow the law. I do not believe that you can follow the law without the blood of Christ. It is impossible. For all men have fallen short, as we do know, right? And you're not saved by works, but works are important, right? And there's a reason why works are important in the book. So these are just my beliefs from what I read.
You did a decent, you kind of brought it back together. So let me get this straight. I just want to make sure. You saying that we got grace from Jesus, right? So let's say you go out, right, E, and you get a tattoo. Then I say, hey, E, now Leviticus 19:27, you can't, print marks upon you. You good because you can ask for forgiveness. You just can't get another tattoo. Agree?
That does not give you permission, as they say, right? I mean, there was a situation in, I believe that when,
E, answer my question first before you give me context.
No, it's not a permission to sin, according to when Satan tempted Jesus. Yeah, when Satan tempted Jesus, remember he said, "Well, if you can throw yourself down," and he's like, "Don't tempt the Lord my God." I believe that's what Jesus' response to the devil was. So I also, to be honest with you, I do think that. Now you're probably not going to like this. I don't believe in sola scriptura. I don't believe that people can read the word and determine it for themselves. I very much believe in elders and leadership, because when we look at the Bible, God never said, or never was written that these are the books that you have to go by, right? And I think that when we do anything, I can't read a medical book and then claim myself a medical doctor, right? I have to follow the experience in leadership. And I very much believe in the church. I very much believe in the elders. I don't believe that I read the Bible and, hey, I can do it on my own and I don't need to go to church and all that kind of stuff. I think that stuff I think people that don't go to church are stupid people. You know what I mean? It's like me saying, well, I can get big on my own. I can win a championship on my own. I think you need guidance and leadership from people who study the word and interpret the word, which is why they did not, for a long time, they didn't let everybody read the Bible, because I feel like,
Eric, did you watch my stream from 2 weeks ago? This where you got this from? Well, never mind.
No, I did not. I've always been on this. I've always been on this type of thinking.
Well, Eric, no, good. So let me give you a verse just so you can back that up with the scriptures. So, not saying you can't. I don't know if you know this verse or not, but Nehemiah 8, right? You can start at verse 8 to get the sense. So it literally says there's a specific group of people who read the Bible, and there was a specific group of men who discerned it for the people so they can understand. It wasn't everybody did not have access. Even when Jesus went to read, he had to go to the synagogue. You remember in Luke 4, he had to go there, read the book of Isaiah, and then he read Isaiah 61 essentially. So 100%. People having access, everybody's an expert. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's stupid. I personally think that the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox Church knew what they were doing, right? When they limited people, right? Because now this is why the church is so fractured in and of itself, and people can make it up as they go along. It's because they don't want to trust leadership, and they don't want to trust an organization, right? And so I think that what you're on is correct. I don't understand where the racial elements come in. I mean, I think that this is a tribal thing, but what I am going to tell you is that
you're not. Well, I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just interjecting, right? So in actuality, for us, race is a component, but it's much more lineage based. So it's the men you come from that determine who you with. Determine what of the 18 nations of the Bible you come from. Because like you said, Israel had 12 sons, right? So you come from one of those 12 sons, but that's one nation because they all come from the man named Israel. You know what I mean? It goes by patriarchal lineage. You know,
I hate to preach to you, and I've heard this argument before, but some of our greatest people within the Bible did not come from great lineage at all.
Indeed.
Whether that be Samuel, I mean, his mom begged for a child and said, "I'm going to give my child to the church." And whether that be David,
Samuel, I just want to, because you citing good stuff. 1 Samuel 2:6 is where he's at in regards to her saying, "The Lord kills and make alive. You give me this kid, I'll give him to you." Yeah, that's a good job.
Yeah. So
the bald head nigga Isaiah, right?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people don't come. I mean, even Jesus don't come from he come from the line of David, but still, right? Just how he was born.
But look
at where born David, in the projects.
But look at where David came from. David was a shepherd. I mean, his father. You know what I mean? It's. I think it's a little bit. I understand lineage, but I think this is why, like, I believe in the power of like the Holy Spirit, right, to cure generational curses and to provide a new life regardless of lineage. It's because but this is only after Christ. This was not before Christ. Not before Christ.
My bad. I did a bad job. When you said race, I agreed, because it's not so much about race, but it is about the lineage, your patriarchal lineage, which you come from, that determines what nation you from. Not about you being from prestige. Prestige is not the thing.
But the thing is, when Christ came before he ascended into heaven, what was his commission? His commission was to go into all nations. I get. This is why I'm saying it's. I think that, and I could be wrong because I'm not a father, and I didn't I'm a patriarchal father in terms of studying the word. I'm not a priest. I haven't gone into any detail in terms of theology or anything like that. I leave that up to the experts. But when he gave the Great Commission of going into all nations, I think that lineage at that point became a little bit different. You know what I mean? I just feel like I get if you are currently, and I'm not trying to throw any shade, but if you are currently Hebrew Israelite, some of these things, I think, while being relevant and being important, which is why they are there, I think that there are things that may override them, right? So the reason why we put the problem in the Old Testament is to show the solution in the New Testament. It's not the fact that I'm doing away with everything. I'm showing how things were historically, and then after that, I'm giving a new path from that point. It's not because people will argue, are you trying to do away with the Old Testament? Are you saying the law does not matter, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is just how we have a constitution and there are amendments to that constitution, right? It's the same thing in the Bible. That's what I truly believe.
Okay. Yeah. I think well, God doesn't change, right?
No.
Per the book, right? I am the Lord, I change not, right? So he says it himself. I think the reason why people get confused about the all nations thing because they never read the book of Hosea. Or they never read the book of Genesis, chapter 32. And I'm surprised that people don't understand that the Israelites would be like the sand of the sea that'll go into all nations.
Yeah.
And you can't number them, right? So it makes sense to go get your people from all nations because pursuant to Hosea 1, you could jump to verse 10. It'll tell you that the Israelites are spread everywhere.
But let's be real, right?
Go ahead.
And this is, you're not going to like this. The reason why Christ went to all nations was because, and you're going to get not like it, but the Israelites rejected his message.
Oh, which ones?
The Israelites rejected Christ.
Which ones?
The ones that crucified. Well, come on, now you're going to get me in trouble, right? You're going to tell me that's okay. If we look even after Christ, right? Who rejected Christianity the most?
The Jewish.
Okay, that's my point. Okay, they rejected. He was put here for them, and then after that, because remember when Christ was at the woman at the well, right? And the woman at the well, he very much said, I just want scraps from the table or something like that, from what I remember correctly. He came first for his own. And when they rejected him, because this is all about rejection of where you came from, right? Because, like the cornerstone has been rejected. I think that's in Isaiah, right? The Isaiah 53, he was bruised for our sins, crushed for our iniquities. I know I'm spitballing here, but he was rejected. And that is why they had to go into all nations with all people. And that's why I feel like this obsession with lineage, right? I think to a certain extent, it's wrong because I think Christ came for all after he was rejected.
Can you explain Revelations 11? Can you explain? Oh, sorry, you don't have it memorized. So there's
I can go get my Bible.
Yeah, you go get it. It's probably Mark.
Okay, hold on
so you
a
second.
I'll be right back. Hold on a second. Right back.
Yeah, I'll let him get his Bible because I got to correct a few things too. Just because he had the wrong verses in the wrong place. He's doing pretty good. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most.
Where are we at? You said Revelations 11?
Yeah, this to show you a differentiation amongst the people. And you heard of the 144,000 as well, right?
Yeah, I know that's God, I hope you're not going Jehovah's Witness on me here, but yeah, I understand with that.
Well,
I mean it.
Well, I guess those people are from a specific lineage, right? The whole entire 144,000.
Yeah, where are you taking me here first with this?
Revelations 11, just to show you that there's a differentiation in people, even in the kingdom. You can start at the top.
Which one are we going with the two witnesses?
No. Revelations 11. Start at verse 1.
I'm on Revelation 11. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod. Is that where we're starting here?
Yep.
Okay. So these are two witnesses. I remember this from Left Behind, but I remember it, but I do remember from this. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod. And the angel stood saying, "Rise and measure up measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles. And they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth.
So I'm glad you know the story, but also, do you know that there's a difference between the people? So do you see where the Gentiles are as opposed to the Israelites?
I see that they make a distinction for the Gentiles. Yes.
Yeah. So even when we're saying things don't matter, in the last book of the Bible, things matter. The people in their lineage of which they come from matter. So to say that is just not a thing anymore, it wouldn't make sense for it to be in Revelation.
But can't Gentiles mean a number of things?
It can, right?
Can
It could
Gentiles
even
mean unbelievers or something like that? I believe.
No.
I'm not sure.
Gentiles are heathens, right? It's so people who aren't Israelites, right? But to be fair to your point, there's a whole lot of Israelites that were called Gentiles because they didn't know no better, right? So they all thought they were Gentiles. Have you read the Apocrypha?
I have not gotten into that. No.
Get it when you get a chance, read it, because I think it'll help you.
So are you someone? Do you believe in like all of the scrolls? Are you somebody that like the Book of Thomas and things like that, or
not necessarily. Not so. Like for instance, the Book of Enoch. No.
Okay.
Just to clarify your question, right? So I don't believe in the Book of Enoch. It just has a bunch of things that don't make sense when you line it up with the Bible specifically. We don't have to go through the verse by verse, because we boring people, right? But like even like Revelation 7 as an example, the 144,000 are only Israelites. So again, when we say that the lineage don't matter, we would have to reconcile that not mattering with the last book of the Bible that literally shows it matters step by step.
Well, my question, right, and I'm sure you're going to answer this, right, and it's going to go back to my point on the evil white man, right? Who assembled this?
If you believe that the Council of Nicaea assembled it, there's a lot of people who think Constantine was white. There's people who argue that he wasn't. And I don't know if the Council of Nicaea directly put those 66 books together per se. But I can concede the point that let's say it started at the Council of Nicaea, although a lot of people don't know the Council of Carthage.
Well, let's say this. Let's say that Constantine was not white, right?
Yeah.
The empire that facilitated this being put together was who?
Oh, you're talking about King James and them?
No, I'm talking about the Romans.
Well, that one there?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Council of Nicaea, right? And I'm talking about the Romans. And it I'm sure you remember the parable of like the seeds, right? Of the seeds falling on fertile ground, right? There's this parable that Christ talks about where some seeds fell on a rock, some seeds fell amongst weeds, and some seeds fell amongst fertile ground, right?
Yeah.
When I look historically, especially if you're coming from this perspective, right?
Sure.
The seeds that were on the fertile ground were the Romans. I know that largely even to this day, of course, people can say Ethiopia or whatever. I know, I got you, right? But I think it was the Romans. I think that this is how, there's some people that even argue, I mean, people like, God, I forgot that guy's name, that's the reason why white people did achieve what they achieved, because they accepted Christ in mass first. I don't think that I could agree with that, because of course there's the Ethiopians and other people in Western Africa or Eastern Africa, right? The Byzantine Empire, and I did a show about that on my channel. But I think that you don't get Christianity in the Bible today in the hands of us, the people on this panel, without the Romans.
I agree.
Yeah, that's my only point. That's my only point the whole time.
I think it's a good point. Yeah, I think, and that's the thing, since I read, right, and there is prophecy that said that you will have to go to your enemy for wanting all things. I think it makes 100% sense.
Why do you think that these people are your enemy, bro?
What do you mean?
Like, you you think that when you say you're going to your enemy, are you saying that the Romans were your enemy?
Back then, of course, right? You said who took over who took over the land at that time? Remember, like you said, the war in 70 AD, where all the people were where the Jews were dispelled out of the land, and they went into slavery in the trans-Saharan slave trade, which is how they got to the West Coast. So yeah, 100%.
70 AD. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Hey, when you get a chance, read this book. It's called From Babylon to Timbuktu. You heard of it?
Not the biggest fan of Timbuktu, but I'll go ahead and read it. I think a lot of Timbuktu is cap.
Yeah,
I think it's one story.
But it's the title of the From Here to Where. Yeah, but it's more so about what happened in that war at that time.
I just think I got to be honest, Hamp. I just think a lot of people they're not looking at I think that the people now that have this idea that they're a victim, they are squandering the greatest opportunity that anyone has ever had. Because they are so focused on the past of what white people did to them, it's not productive.
So I think that's well taken by me, right? So when I'm teaching like new people, oftentimes I don't go into that, right? If you ever see the videos, it's all about the white man this, the white man that. I don't give a fuck about that. It's more about empowerment. It's like, hey, you're these great people that can do these great things, right? We don't often focus on what the white man did. Who gives a fuck? We just focus on keep the laws, love Jesus, right? Get a woman from Proverbs 31.
Good luck with that.
follow the laws, right? And like you said, Jesus give you that shit. You can get grace. Don't keep fucking up because you don't get grace forever, right? Sooner or later, you got to pay for them sins. But that's what we focus on. We don't focus on a bunch of who's this, that, and the third, who's bad. Like that shit is a waste of time, right? Okay. So 100%, like I push, I work for myself, God willing. My wife don't work, God bless. I got a bunch of kids, you know what I mean? I don't even like kids.
So you said you're in DC?
I used to be. I'm in
Were
Houston
you one
now.
of those guys outside of the Chinatown Metro that used to be yelling at people?
No.
Okay, all right.
I used to you heard of Good Hope Road in Southeast?
Yeah, of course I heard of Good Hope Road in South. Yeah.
I used to go by myself, right? Because I was trying to figure out where you fit, when you first learn. And a lot of that stuff, I didn't like the angle. So I used to go by myself, but I used to be getting my
into the belly of the beast.
Yeah,
exactly. Belly of the beast. That is not a good area at all.
But where else you gonna go? That's where you're supposed to go. You know what I'm saying?
Good luck with that.
I met one dude. He was a Muslim, right? And so he come up and he's like, "This is bull," because I had the Quran laying on the ground, but I didn't do it on purpose. But maybe subconsciously, yeah, right. Maybe subconsciously I did put it on the ground. To be fair, so he talking shit, whatever, and I say, "Hey, bro, if we fight, I can't lose because I got to come back next week." And fortunately, that was enough comic relief for him to kind of laugh. You know what I mean? But that shit used to be rough. But I'm just like, where else do you go if you really want to help people that need it? Right down in Chinatown, who the fuck ain't enough people out there?
Well, you just be yelling at a bunch of gay white people, and they deserve to be yelled at, though. But DC is I like DC. And this is what's funny. Like even what Ali was saying,